Last weekend was Father's Day, and really all I asked for, was a chance to be a part of the No Kings protest with my family, and I got that. It was wonderful. It was great to be surrounded by so many people who see the same things that I do, and just how outside the norm what we're living through is. And so, thanks to the family for indulging old dad. And I look forward to the next protest, which I will absolutely be at. I look forward to the next boycott, which I will absolutely be a part of. I look forward to doing anything I can to express my displeasure over the way things are going. And that brings us to what I do every week on this show, taking on some nonsense in the world. This time it happens to be, I just want to talk about what normal is, or isn't anymore. Let's see. Welcome back to Trent Takes On. I'm the Trent from the title of the show. That's why it's so cleverly named. I believe today marks the official, I don't even know exactly what it is. This would be 5 months. From January 20th to today, which is June 20th, that's 5 months. This regime has been in control for 5 months. Can you believe that? It's been the longest 10 years of our lives. We just had the 10-year anniversary of Donald Trump coming down the golden escalator and announcing that he was going to run for president. That was 10 years ago. I feel like I've aged. I feel like he's the only public figure that's been in my life the entire time. I hate it. He just turned 79 last weekend, and he had a birthday party / parade that he shared with the 250th anniversary of the United States Army. It was, we'll say, sparsely attended. I was a part of the No Kings protest, as well as estimates vary from 4 to 6 million by the on the conservative side to as many as 10 plus on the kind of global side, because you just don't realize that there were basically No Kings protests. It felt like everywhere. Thousands of people showing up in little tiny towns to say, this is not where we're supposed to be. This is not what's supposed to be going on. 5 months. We've been doing this for 5 months. That means I am 50 years and 5 months old, because my birthday was the last day of sanity in this country. And, arguably in the world. So what I wanted to do this week, I was kind of kicking around several ideas. I still want to do an episode just about artificial intelligence. I desperately want to, because it's such an interesting topic, and I have so many thoughts on it and how bad artificial intelligence is. But that's beside the point, because I can't get to it because there's so much shit happening. There's so many fires set by this arson of an administration, arsonists of an administration regime. Keep calling it regime. That's what it is. And I wanted to talk about how in 5 months we've gone to a full fascist dictatorship, and what that means, and how it's not normal. And I'm going to do it in the traditional Trent style. This is all off the cuff. But I want to talk about the things that are different today than they were 5 months and a day ago. The inflationary pressures that were there, that existed before Donald Trump took office again, are still there. My grocery bill continues to go up. Cost on items continues to go up. The only thing he's done to address inflation is install a bunch of tariffs, which are further taxes on imported goods. So that is just going to make everything more expensive. It already has made a lot of things more expensive, and it's going to make things even more expensive the more tariffs go on. And they paused the worldwide tariffs for like 90 days while they worked out trade deals. And I think we're up to like day 75. We have one deal with the UK, who we had a trade surplus with. It's a joke. This guy's a fucking joke. And for the record, what good is a trade deal with this regime when they walked in and just tore up every trade deal that was on the table before them, including the USMCA, which is the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement that was negotiated and signed by the previous Trump administration, the same fucking people. And they tore that up. That was a bad deal, so we tore it up. So what the fuck good is it negotiating with this guy? What the fuck good is it saying we're going to sit down and we're going to iron out a trade deal? He's not going to respect it. He's not going to honor it. He doesn't honor contracts. He doesn't believe in them. He wants to renegotiate everything all the time, everything all the time, everything all the time. I would never fucking negotiate with this guy. It's worthless. It's worthless. So when you look at the economy of the United States, we had our worst quarter, our first recessionary quarter since the great pandemic of a few years ago. So we shrunk the economy the last quarter. And the current quarter we're in, or just finishing, is probably going to be significantly worse. So as far as the economy goes, things are not good. They're not. All the indicators are bad. We may already be in a recession. We're not sure. People are getting laid off, not just federal workers, but now people who work in the private sector, because you can't plan a business for the next year when you don't know how much your costs are going to be. If you want to construct something new, or if you're a retailer, or if you're moving goods through your business, you don't know. You don't know what the cost is going to be. How can you possibly plan ahead? Chances are you're going to need to cut corners. So already layoffs are happening. Previously laid out plans are being scrapped, and expansions and things like that are being just shit heaped. So the economy, it's not good. It's not good. We were the envy of the world in our recovery from the pandemic. We did it better than any other industrialized nation. And Donald Trump pissed all that away, because that's what he does. He takes good things and he kills them. He's murdered our economy. All because he needs to pee on everything. He's the dog that has to pee on everything. And so he peed on our economy. So economy's shit. How about let's go to handling the United States federal government workforce. He's hired a bunch of fucking morons to lead every department that you can think of. A bunch of either idiots or straight up malignant forces. People who are there just to destroy things, like RFK Jr., Linda McMahon, and Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio, who turned out to be a real piece of shit. He's filled his cabinets who execute his plan, I guess. Whatever. I don't know. It's all Project 2025. Who execute their destruction of the federal government with the intent to break it to the point where no one has any faith in it anymore. So in that regard, they're actually succeeding, because more and more people are pissed off. More and more people are losing their government benefits, be it anything from Veterans Affairs, the VA hospitals, to suicide hotlines, to homeowners assistance, to you name it. They're cutting everything that they can cut. They're actually cutting a whole bunch of shit illegally, because they're not the ones that are supposed to be determining how money is spent. They can make their recommendations, but the law is the law, and that's what's passed by Congress, and they just ignore that, yet they get away with it. So because we'll get to that at the end, the fucking legislature's a joke. So domestic policy wise, it's a total shit show out there. And that's before you even get to immigration. Here's the thing. This mass deportation effort where they determined that they have to arrest 3,000 migrants a day to meet their 1 million migrants deported every year. It's fucking insane. That would mean they'd have to have a deportation rate of 100%, which they don't, because they're arresting people all willy-nilly without doing any due process. And the problem is they're rounding up a bunch of people who don't need to be deported because they're here legally, or in some cases, this is one of my favorites, they're American citizens, and they're detaining these people for extended periods of time at an extreme cost to the government. For what? Just to let them go? Because in the end, you can't do that to American citizens. I just read a story about a guy who was born in Philadelphia, and they arrested him and tried to deport him to Jamaica. He was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He has lived here his entire life. He is an American. Hello. They're deporting people. They're arresting people by profiling. They're just color of your skin. We're harassing you. There used to be a process that ICE would have to go through. Immigration and Customs Enforcement had to go through a process. They had to have targets picked out, and then they had to approve those targets, and then they had to have orders for removal before you actually deported anybody. They're not waiting for any of that anymore. And their new tactic, this is one of the most insane things, is they're arresting people outside of immigration. I'm sorry, I totally blanked here. Immigration courts. Okay, so they're arresting people after their immigration hearings where the United States government is dismissing their cases, which means that they lose their place in the queue and they become an undocumented person. The instant that they basically dismiss the charges, we don't want to talk about them anymore. So that they can turn around and arrest them right outside. And this time, they don't have any due process left because they've stolen it. That's happening. That's really happening. Sound okay to you? Does it sound okay to me? And the thing is, when you're arresting people, profiling people, when you're just rounding up people because of the color of their skin or where you think they might be from, and you're deporting them just because they have certain tattoos, people who have legal status, people who are here legally, people who are citizens here are also scared because they don't want to be grabbed in this we don't fucking care whether or not we're doing it right net that these assholes are throwing out there, and then deported to some place that you've never even fucking been to. They deported people to North Sudan. What? They've talked about deporting people to Libya, which is a country in the middle of a civil war. What? The Trump regime, I almost said administration, it's not an administration, it's a regime. The Trump regime doesn't care about human rights. The rest of the world looks at what we're doing and they say that is draconian, evil, vicious bullshit. They know better. They know better. The rest of the world knows better. And the people who showed up at No Kings, they know better too. They're not following the rules. They're not following the laws. And now they've taken to arresting Democratic lawmakers who stand up to them and go, you're not allowed to do this. And now they incarcerate them. Like Representative McIver from New Jersey, like Mayor Baraka from Newark, New Jersey, who was arrested and then released. And now he's suing for wrongful detention, which he should do. They forcibly detained my senator, one of my senators. Senator Padilla is the senior senator from the state of California. He was selected by Gavin Newsom to replace Kamala Harris, and then he won re-election, duly re-elected, and he received more votes in his one election than 48 of the 53 senators that are currently representing red states. Think about that for a second. And I don't mean received more votes than 48 of the 53. I mean those 48 combined. Combined votes of 48 of those Republican senators doesn't even match up to one Senator Padilla. There are so many people in California, and these red state senators don't understand at all. They don't get it. People like Mike Crapo of Idaho. People like Tommy Tuberville from Alabama. People like no relation Bill Kennedy. It's an amazing happenstance, but this is full-blown fascist behavior. Arresting your opposition party. That's full-blown fascism. Full-blown fascism. Now they're saying that Congress people cannot do unannounced visits to ICE detention centers, which is in the law that they're allowed to do unannounced visits. The whole point of them being able to do unannounced visits is so that the detention centers don't have time to hide their misgivings. Yet now the federal government has said, no, you guys have to give us 72 hours warning. Nope. Done what the law says. They've been denying, and this is commonplace now. It's happened in Los Angeles at least 3 times in the last week. Democratic congresspersons going to ICE detention facilities demanding to see the detainees, to see the conditions under which they're being kept, to tour the facility, and they've been turned away in all 3 cases, which is against the law. Americans are scared. Americans are frightened. Americans are angry. Extremely angry. And the political violence doesn't stop. There was an actual assassination in Minnesota on Saturday of last week with the Speaker of the House there, former Speaker of the House. They're in the minority now, but she was murdered along with her husband and their dog. And another Democratic state assembly member was shot 9 times and his spouse 8 times. Those numbers may be reversed, actually. One was shot 8, one was shot 9. They're both going to live by, the grace of whatever gods there are in this universe. Political assassinations by someone with a list of 45 Democratic lawmakers that he had intended to murder. He made 2 other stops that night between the first one where he committed an assassination and the 4th one where he attempted another right as he got caught in the act. And then he escaped on foot, led to a 2-day manhunt where he was finally apprehended. But he did make 2 other stops between the 2 and couldn't get anybody to come to the door. Republican lawmakers have made fun of this, like Mike Lee, piece of shit, senator from Utah. This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way, is what he tweeted out with a photo of this terrifying assassin. Claiming that the assassin was a Marxist, a leftist, that was killing people who didn't agree with their lefticism. Nope. Guy's a Trump supporter. This alleged killer, I think you have to say they're alleged, even if they have, because, innocent until proven guilty. See, he's going to get due process. This political assassin gets full due process. So, think about that for a second. Things are bad. Things are bad. There was an attempted kidnapping of the mayor of Memphis last night. Hey, doesn't even make the news. Barely a blip. Political violence is out of control, and it's all on one side of the aisle because it was greenlit by this regime to say, if you're committing violence against our political opponents, it's not really bad, is it? It's insane. Streets aren't safe. Our elected officials aren't safe. This is their version of peace through strength. Nope. This is authoritarian terror. A fascist regime. They have 7,000 members of the armed forces. Almost 1,000. It's not quite 7,000. Almost 1,000 Marines and 6,000 National Guard troops that Trump has federalized. California National Guardsmen who are supposed to be under the control of the governor, and they have unleashed them on Southern California, specifically the city of Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles, and they are accompanying ICE and the other federal agents who are doing the ICE work, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're accompanying them on their raids, which is wildly illegal. They are not allowed to perform policing duties in the United States. That law is called posse comitatus. You are not allowed as the federal government to turn the federal military on its own citizens unless you have an actual rebellion ongoing. There's no rebellion here. They burned 3 Waymos. Most of America has no idea what a Waymo is. Domestically, we're fucked because they're running and I want you to think about this for a second. They're running an organization, a terror regime in Southern California. Yet, Florida and Texas have higher numbers and concentration of illegal immigrants, undocumented persons. Illegal. People aren't illegal, okay? What you do can be illegal, but you are an undocumented person. There are higher numbers and higher concentrations in the states of Florida and Texas, but there are no National Guardsmen there to, quote unquote, quell the rebellion, the insurrection. Whew. Everything's going great, baby, except it's not. Things are bad here. The economy is bad. The streets aren't safe. Elected officials aren't safe. But at least the regime is dealing with all of the wars out there, right? The foreign policy is rock solid, right? Nope. Not even close. The war between Russia and Ukraine continues to escalate. Russia refuses to back down, refuses to remove their troops from Ukrainian soil. They are determined to annex the entirety of Ukraine. And Ukraine is not willing to surrender, nor should they. So they continue to fight back against the aggressors, including some incredible counterattacks. How about the war in Gaza? Is Israel still bombing the shit out of Gaza? They're still raiding Gaza? They're still trying to take Hamas out? Yeah. Just as active. And just this last week, we've got a brand new war in the Middle East because Bibi Netanyahu and Israel have decided that now is the time to strike Iran to prevent them from their nuclear bomb, which is weeks away, according to them. Of course, they've been saying it's been weeks away for 30 years. This sounds exactly like what got us into a protracted military engagement in the neighboring country from Iran, a place called Iraq, where we were at war for, I forget how long it was exactly, but it was a long-ass time. 15 years, 14 years. Iran is twice the size. 92 million people, which makes it roughly a quarter of the population of the United States. Yep. So things are not good. Things are not good. And now Donald Trump is saying, well, maybe we'll just help the Israelis. Maybe we'll just fight Iran too. Well, there used to be this thing called Congress. And the rule was, the law is, the Constitution says, the only body that's allowed to declare war and activate military intervention overseas is this group called Congress. Not the president. It's not the president's power. One man cannot declare war in this country. The whole point of the Constitution was because we didn't want a monarchy. We needed a government of checks and balances where people had to cooperate and work together to make things happen. Oh, holy shit. Can you believe it? That's what the entire point was. And now we have an authoritarian dictator who is just doing whatever the hell he wants, and the checks and balances are failing. The courts are trying to do their job and saying, you can do this, you can't do that. But here's the thing. When they tell him he can't do something, when they tell this regime they can't do something, they ignore those orders. And they do it anyway. And that means that the legislature's job is supposed to step in and say, you've broken the law, felonies and misdemeanors, you are hereby impeached. You go through the process, you impeach them, they put him on trial, here's what he did, here's how it works, you're not supposed to do this, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to ignore court orders, you're supposed to be faithfully executing the laws of this nation, not just ignoring them, which is what they do on a daily basis. This regime has piled up hundreds of individual violations of simple things like this. My personal favorite is all of these. They call it impoundment, which is the law says we're going to spend this much money on this grant or this program or this whatever, and this regime has said, well, we're not going to do that. We're just not going to spend that money. But the law says you have to spend that money. Well, we're not going to do it. Then you've broken the law. You've impounded it. This is a Supreme Court decision that goes all the way back to Nixon, who attempted to do the exact same thing. And the Supreme Court said, no, when the law is the law. They dedicated that money in such a way, and your job is to execute that law. Not to determine whether or not you like it. So the system of checks and balances is busted. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Mentioned it earlier. There is no legislative branch oversight of what this regime is doing. They're ignoring it. They're ignoring open source reporting. They're ignoring, what's happening right in front of your face. They're ignoring the fact that these ICE raids are already wildly over their budget for the year. So where are they getting the money to continue this? They just don't care. They think that it's better to be on the side of the tyrant than against him. But that's the thing about tyrants. They can't be trusted. They're fickle, and this one is more fickle than most. They are sometimes just straight up cruel, and this one is crueler than most. They only think about themselves. And this one definitely only thinks about himself. Think about the enrichment from cryptocurrency to accepting bribes in the form of planes to accepting straight up bribes in the form of $1 million plates at fundraisers to meet with the president himself. They're not legal. He breaks the law constantly. He makes decisions to enrich himself. And in the true arsonist of arsonists nature of this man, every time you think that we've focused on a thing that we can, hammer our way at and take him down a peg, he sets another bigger fire or two or more to distract us, to remind us that of all the damage he's doing, he can do more. He can do more. And he's going to do more. He's going to release more chaos onto American streets. He's going to nationalize more National Guard troops and put them in places like Chicago and New York City and Washington, D.C. It's coming, folks. Fascism requires using the military to police your own people. I said it over and over again at the No Kings protest. People seem to have forgotten that the first country that the Nazis took over was their own. These are terrifying times. I say every week, you just kind of gotta pay attention while somehow disengaging your brain enough to keep you from going insane, which is quite a trick. But really, that's all we've got right now. The resistance is real. Millions of people are willing to take to the streets, and every major protest is bigger than the last. And the next one, which I'm certain will be right around the corner in 6 weeks, will be even bigger than the last one. Because that's the thing about this regime. They can never admit wrongdoing. They can never back down. The entire regime is dedicated to the philosophy of double down. If you're familiar with blackjack, doubling down means basically doubling your bet. You can double down. Not withdraw it. No, not let it ride. No. Double down. Double down on the cruelty. Double down on taking away people's most basic necessities. Taking away healthcare. Taking away housing. Taking away assistance. Taking away Social Security. Taking away Medicare. It's all coming. Because that's what fascists do. And that's what these people do. And the more cruelty they can inflict, the happier they are, because that's how malevolence works. It's evil. Evil for a reason, for the sake of being evil. And yeah, they happen to, benefit financially from it too, but they already are obscenely wealthy. Now the trick is you have to stay in power, because if ever the power is returned to the people of this country, we won't make the same mistakes and let you off the hook again. Everyone who is breaking the law now will pay down the road. And if you don't believe me, every photo you see of ICE agents performing a raid features anywhere from 50 to 75, sometimes 100% of those agents covering their faces. And why would you cover your face if you are executing the law faithfully? What do you have to hide if you are in the right? Nothing. They hide their faces because they know they are guilty. They need anonymity to continue to break the law. They rely on it. They claim that attacks on ICE agents have increased 500%. From what? Where do you get these information? Where do you get these numbers? And for the record, if they're up 500%, your ICE what do they call them? ICE actions, your deportation roundups have increased far more than 500%. So it seems to me like you're probably a little safer right now, considering you terrorized an entire fucking country with your masks and your hidden little badges that nobody can read. You look like plainclothes people. How long before those people get maced? How long before they try this shit in an open carry state like Texas, and some good guy with a gun caps a couple of fools because they run it around in masks, arresting people without identifying themselves? We've already had a lot of people in this country detained, actually arrested, for impersonating ICE officers. Yeah, that's a new thing. People are dressing up like ICE officers. You can buy that shit on Amazon that they're wearing. Their little polos that say ICE police. Don't do that, by the way. You can buy little fake badges. You can impersonate an ICE officer. And because you don't have to show your face, who'll ever know, right? Who'll ever know? Scary times. Bad people taking advantage of bad situations. So reach out to the people that you know. Reach out to the people that you know that could be scared. Reach out to the people who you know who could fear deportation. Reach out to the mixed race families that are in your neighborhood. Make sure that they know that they have an ally in you. And in being their ally, be their ally. Stand up, protest, be loud, make a plan. Learn what your rights are if you are an immigrant. Learn what immigrants' rights are if you're not. Maybe I'll do an entire show devoted to that. Talk about boring. It's boring, but it's important information. You can't come into your home without a warrant. They can try. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I really don't. Don't open the door for them. It's hard to be positive. It's hard to remain positive. But things like the No Kings protest are what should remind you that you're not alone. Things like this podcast are here to remind you you're not alone. Reaching out to your neighbors and your friends. Trust me, there's nothing better right now than knowing that you have an ally who hates what's going on in this country. And most people do. Most people do. If they were to rehold that election right now, he would lose in a landslide. We have to make sure that we have a free and fair election next time. I don't know how, but we gotta. We have got to stop this fascist takeover of our country. And the one thing we have left is us, the people. All we have left is our voices and to tell them that we do not approve of what they are doing. And then when we get the opportunity, we vote them out. Everywhere. Everywhere we can, we vote out anyone with this Republican stench on them. What they're doing is coordinated evil, and they know it. So you either stand up to it or you're a part of it. It's that simple. I'm going to take off. I am going to see my eldest child this weekend. I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm also going to go have a beer with a friend. So, hey, that's neat. Ha ha! Take care of each other, please. I also forgot, I'm supposed to thank everybody for checking out my show. Maybe I'll just do a little something and drop it in the middle. That sounds reasonable, right? Drop it in early? Okay. One more time, thank you all for being here with me, for taking this long, or for sticking with me this long, for listening to me really rail about a really negative moment in our country and how important it is for us to stand up. So, thank you all. I love you all. Please, please, please be good humans. It's the least we can do and the thing that makes us better. Till next time.